Welcome to the Free from Wall Street podcast, where we share how we have done over $200 million in real estate deals to create, preserve, and pass on generational wealth without the roller coaster ride of the stock market. If you're ready to start investing with purpose, visit freefromwallstreet.com. But for now, let's dive into this episode. Welcome back to the Free from Wall Street podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Libman. Today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what we just did this week in the business. So as the visionary, if you run EOS, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, we run the Entrepreneur Operating System. It's EOS. We're actually taking on a new system called EES. It's going to be a little bit different, but as we're running EOS, one of the meeting tempos that's required is what they call a town hall. So the visionary or the leader of the business stands up in front of everybody and says, hey, we're going to do a 30-minute meeting. We're going to talk about the state of the business and then what's going on. We give some accolades and thank everybody for the great job that they're doing, and then we'll do a little bit of a training. So I thought maybe this would be helpful for you as well, if you're listening out there, as it was for my team. They found it useful. I have found it incredibly useful. I've been going through some teachable courses, which are some online mentoring classes with a guy who does, he just sold his business for $3.4 billion, so he is probably a good dude to listen to. So I'm just going to run through some of the notes that I have. Hopefully it adds value to you. So town hall state of the business, we closed a 334 unit flip, which we did, and that created a significant amount of cash flow for us. So we were talking about the financial solvency of the business, which is great. Cash flow, going through some of the projects that we own and just kind of giving a finance rundown on that. Our goal is to give $2 million away over the next 5 years. We're well on our way. It looks like we are on track to do $100,000 a month right now through our donor advised fund, which is a huge blessing. That's the invest with purpose piece of our business. It's really the heart behind the business and what it's our why, right? Why, and I think I did another podcast on understanding your why, knowing your why, getting to it and figuring it out so that when hard days come, you know how to overcome them because you have a bigger why than just doing a deal or getting the money or whatever, right? So our donor advised fund is our why. Our goal is to do 4 new deals in the next year. We have more deals than we have capital currently, so we're going to be continuing to raise capital for those deals and then do 4 between 40 and 60 million, maybe 40 and $75 million acquisitions over the next 12 months. Our next deal we talked about, which if you're signed up for the Investor Club, you'll also get notified of that we're going to be doing by the end of 2021. And then we're going to be talking about standard operating procedures and like how we're creating the SOPs and making sure that we're spending time daily and weekly making sure that our SOPs are documented properly. So that's just kind of a housekeeping issue. And we did a little rundown of our current deals, right? So we have Shiloh Crossings, which we purchased. It was a 66-unit property, very difficult asset, C-, D+ asset. And we are under contract to sell that. We should be closed in the next 2 weeks. National Road, which is an 84-unit that we're stabilizing right now. We did some massive renovations to it, and now it's getting stabilized. So we're getting renters in there for the units that we renovated above what we pro forma'd, actually. So that's great news as well. Summerwind is our Dallas, Texas property, and we have 120 units down there, still doing some CapEx expenditures. We're cash flowing nicely, so all is good on that front. And then we just closed the 384 unit complex down in Daytona Beach called Lake Forest. Right now our focus is going to be doing the renovations with our CapEx plan. We're at 99% occupancy, so we have steady occupancy. Now we're just going to continue to bump rents and get it stabilized for increasing cash flow. Okay? Now I went into the training, which this week we did productivity training. So I am going to run through this pretty quickly. Hopefully it'll add some value to you guys. So number 1, clarity and stress are intrinsically tied, right? They're inversely related. So as clarity goes up, stress goes down. As stress goes up, it's because clarity typically is coming down. So that feeling of overwhelm when you walk around your house and you have a million different things to do, but you don't pick one thing to do, increases your stress because you're not clarifying what you're going to do next, right? Really important. This is very simple, but very difficult to do. So simple and easy are not directly correlated, but this is super important to do. And my wife and I are just starting to talk about how we're doing these kind of, clarity stress in our relationships and how we're going to manage that on a week-to-week basis, right? Like, what are you doing for your marriage this week? What are you doing for your kids this week? What are you doing for your house this week? What are you doing for your business this week? Those are the big four. If you're doing, if you're making those predetermined decisions, like this is my big decision that I have to make this week, or this is the big task that I'm going to decide to focus on this week, you have clarity, right? So everything else that tries to sneak in and steal your time for that week, you don't allow, right? What decisions do we have to make? Strategically, take time to think. Literally block out a piece of time to think on your calendar, and then keep that appointment with yourself. Successful people keep appointments with themselves. So sit down and say, hey, I'm going to do 20 minutes of thinking. What am I going to do over the next week or day, or whenever you decide to, whatever time frame you decide to use, right? And then add everything to the calendar so that when distractions try to eke in, you don't allow them to. Sorry, I have this blocked off on my calendar. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And already you can tell that this would start to reduce stress because the world is constantly trying to pull on you. But if you have it in your calendar and you know what you're focusing on to create clarity for, it avoids distractions and it increases efficiency. And then there's the PM AM, right? So it's the night before, mapping out what you're going to be doing the next day, and then in AM, doing a quick review of that for the day, making sure that things don't have to get moved around. And very simple, right? What are we doing tomorrow? This is what I'm going to do tomorrow. This is what I'm going to focus on. And you, again, don't get distracted, but you have clarity as to what you're going to be focusing on, right? Be productive. Don't be busy. Right? Be more intentional about how much productivity you're eking out of your day, not how busy you are. As entrepreneurs, if you are one, or maybe this is just in your everyday life, we tend to run from thing to thing. We try to get things accomplished. We have this brain dump into a to-do list, and then we try to check everything off the list, but that's not exactly the right way to do it, right? You have to prioritize those tasks, because if there's something that takes urgent priority, right, versus everything else that has to get done, like, I want to go wash my car today. It didn't make it to the priority list, right? There's other things like taking my daughter out to dinner for her birthday that are a priority list. So, you have to prioritize your day. Dumping everything into a to-do list and trying to frantically check it all off doesn't help you produce results. What it helps you do is be busy. And quick little aside, you may have heard me talk about this before. I removed the word busy from my life probably about 10 years ago now. And I did it intentionally, and the reason why was because I was in church one day and somebody said, how's work? I said, good, busy. And I recognized that those two things don't belong in the same sentence. My busyness does not produce the type of life that I wanted to produce. And I believe that our words have power, so I wanted to stop speaking busyness over my life. So I started to remove the word busy. Right? I started to replace it with other words. So when people would ask me how work was, I would say, good, productive, good, efficient. I would use these different types of words because that's what I wanted in my life. So think to yourself, like when people are asking you how you're doing, do you answer busy? And if you do you believe that maybe you're speaking that over your life and actually creating that in your life by saying it? So anyway, quick aside as to productive versus busy. So masterpiece days, right? Write down a quarterly goal every single day. Make sure that you take time to rewrite your quarterly goals. What does this do? It keeps it in the forefront of your brain, right? And it helps you stay focused on those next days, right? Like, what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing today? Is it helping me accomplish my quarterly goal? If it's not, don't do it. I know these are simple things. Again, not easy. So Sharon, who is the guy who I was telling you about who's running this course on productivity, I love what he says about this. He says he reads at least a page a day, right, when he gets into bed. And it's not that he wants to just read one page, right? It's that he reads a minimum of at least one page. And because his quote is, it's okay to suck, but it's not okay to skip, And I like that. So there's probably other things in areas of your life that you can apply that to, where it's okay to suck, it's not okay to skip. For me, that typically is the gym, right? I got to get there. It's okay to suck, but it's not okay to skip. And then we have kind of the start of your day routine, right? You're going to be going through your calendar, you're going to be processing through your emails, you're going to be figuring out what you have to do, and you're going to be intentional and productive. So all of these things are focused around one thing, right? Intentionality. Are you being intentional about the things that you're spending time on in your life? And if you're not, then reprioritize, right? It's not rocket science. It's just it's something that we need to be intentional about. I was actually just at a Bible study today where, one of the guys was saying, I understand that, if I do something wrong, that it's wrong and I shouldn't be doing it, right? So why do I do it if I know that it's wrong? And he was talking about, if he was sinning against God, why would he do that? And the fact is, because we're pretty bad at stuff, right? Human beings have a lot of brokenness in them. And I said, I think the interesting thing about what happens when you sin against God is that you have to be intentional about repenting, right? Turning away from is what the Greek word for repent means. So it doesn't mean to not just stop doing, right? It means to actually turn away from it and walk the other way. So I said, but are you being intentional about the times that you're doing that? Are you being intentional about the times that you're asking for forgiveness, or that you're actually being a good forgiver? And, they were talking about giving and service, and how can we be better givers? How can we be better servers? And again, intentionality, right? Where is it in your calendar? Show me your calendar. I'll show you your priorities, because they show up there, right? And I shared this today too. I was like, I'm not really the guy who likes to write everything down on a calendar. I'm not a process-oriented person. I kind of like the kind of free spirit, free bird kind of life, right? I'm not very detail-oriented typically. But the reason that I love the idea of putting stuff on my calendar is because it actually creates freedom in my day, because I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. So before, I think the young me would say that living by a calendar was not fun because I didn't get to do whatever I wanted to do, right? It would just be the stuff that's on my calendar, and then I'd have to drudge through it. When in fact, because I have everything on my calendar, it opens up hours of stuff during the day that I'm not thinking about or focused on, because I'm being super intentional about the things that I am getting accomplished, therefore much more productive, therefore get more free time, right? So it's a little bit different on of a mindset shift that I had to go through to make sure that I was focusing on productivity. And these little things that eke into your life, right, steal your time. So if you're making sure that you're intentional about not allowing things to steal your time, then you don't have to worry about them stealing your time. So again, simple, not easy, but the calendar, I hope some of these productivity things that we talked about today were helpful. The last thing that I wrapped up with my team was talking about making sure that you're using tools for the right things. I know that this sounds like a simple thing, but email, I find, is where people like to spend and waste a lot of time, where they will actually not use email for communication. Think of your email as your landline, your phone, your beeper back in the day, right? Email is specific to communication. There should not be things that are coming through your email that now you're storing in there, that you're thinking about tasks that have to be done so you can comb through them later. Email, communication. Get an email, send an email back, or just archive it, right? So I literally went from 10,000 unopened emails to inbox 0. And the reason that I did that was because it was cluttering up space in my brain. I didn't even realize how much it was cluttering up space in my brain until now. I triage my email. Basically, it comes in and I give it a priority, and where it sits in those labels is how I attack them during the day when it's on my calendar. And I say, I'm going to go sit and look through my priority or urgent emails, and that's what I'll do. So anyway, email, communication. Don't let it be used for anything else. It will take up space in your brain. And again, that taking up space in your brain, the whole reason for productivity hacks, inverse relationship between clarity and stress, right? And then calendar, action items. Set appointments with yourself. Don't break them. Put them in your calendar. those non-negotiables, right? If it makes it to your calendar, it's a non-negotiable, you get it done. And then you have a task manager and storage. So task manager would be like a Dropbox or an Asana. Storage would be Dropbox. Task manager would be Asana or Evernote or something else, right, that you're looking to accomplish. So hopefully that is helpful. That's what I sat down with my team and talked about this week, so I thought maybe it would be valuable to you. Thank you so much for listening to the Free from Wall Street podcast. If you haven't done so already, go to our Integrity HG website, sign up for the Investor Club if you want to learn more about the types of deals that we do. All right, everybody, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Free from Wall Street podcast. If you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review and let us know what you think.